Hi folks, it's Doc Severson for the Theo Night edition for Tuesday, December 13th. We'll start off tonight's report with the Dow Jones Industrials. So what are these 30 stocks doing? And I guess the question on everybody's mind right now is if you're a bull, this is a great party and you don't want it to end. If you're a bear, you're going through unbearable pain, no pun intended, and are wondering when the suffering will stop. Well, let's look at our charts here, and this is where I find that it's very, very helpful to look at things from a multiple time frame perspective. Most of us just look at the daily chart and say, hey, it's overbought, it's overbought. Well, guess what, folks? What is overbought can remain overbought for as long as it wants to, and this is why I use a different form of analysis besides the typical oscillators and momentum tools that we typically are taught to use when we first started trading. Now, whenever you do get into a pattern like this where it seems like there's no end to the particular trend, it's very, very helpful to go out to the larger time frame. So in this case, the weekly chart, I think, is going to give us a good read here, because if we look at this, over the course of the last few years, we've had rallies like this before. I mean, the beginning of 2013 was crazy. We've seen a lot of these rallies that have come off of bottoms which seemingly had no end before they finally fell into consolidation. So we can use a more objective approach, understand that when we see this, what we call the fractal energy indicator down here, get to a level which is about 30 or so. When it gets to about 30, which is very close to right now, this is traditionally where we run into this range expansion running into range contraction. Now, I don't think that we're going to see just a huge drop to the downside. I think everybody is predicting, oh my gosh, wait till this thing starts to sell off. Well, markets don't move like that. If they did, we wouldn't see these types of moves. Every time we have these incredibly strong rallies, we just pull into consolidation. We just pull into consolidation. At that point, if it does want to sell down, then it occurs. Remember, tops are a process. Bottoms are an event. So bottoms down here, bottoms down here, bottoms down here. These are an event. These are an event, right? But tops are a process. So tops are a process. They take forever to play out, seemingly, right? So what I'm expecting next at some point here, I don't know if we're going to hit 20,000 or not. Does it really matter what this weighted average of 30 stocks is going to hit 20,000? But it does seem like we will get there this week. We will start to pull into consolidation, and you can bet that the first red candle that we see over here on the daily chart will be treated like, here we go, 16,000, here we come. It's not going to be like that, guys. We might get an initial quick thrust to the downside, but this will immediately set up the next range. I expect the next range to be, relatively tight at this point. I still think that the monthly chart has got some work to do. So yes, we have seen, almost or more than a 3,000 point move on the Dow, but this still has some potential. You can see that the Dow has gone through these types of moves before, and it typically will wait until it gets down to about a linearity of a 30 value before we finally call it quits on this. So longer term picture, this is what I'm expecting. Probably a few weeks of consolidation, perhaps that's sideways, perhaps a little bit more down price behavior. It's going to freak out a lot of people that think, okay, this is the end. But remember, tops are a process. So we could just as easily consolidate for a few weeks and then see the final breakout from this thing as we get into the inauguration. Remember, the hard work has yet to begin. So this is all speculation right now. This is all the market trying to furiously discount what should be is in quotes, right? What should be a very market-friendly administration, a very capitalist administration, pro-growth administration. This is what's being priced in. Nobody knows what this guy's going to do come mid-January. Okay, so that's the Dow. That's kind of the bigger picture here of what's going on with the Dow. If we look at things like the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is in a similar mode, but not quite so berserk. Still has quite a bit of room left to run on the weekly chart, the monthly chart. The daily chart is getting a little bit exhausted as it approaches 2,300 hard to believe that we are already well past 2200 and gone without looking back whatsoever, and are closing in on 2300. But this one's got some room to run yet. Now, the chart that has no room to run is the Russell. You can see that this is completely exhausted here on the weekly chart, on the daily chart, and is already starting to go into consolidation here. So today was just about as flat as the Russell can be in terms of this, and may have started to lead the market going into consolidation. So we'll watch this very carefully. Actually, the rock star for today was the NASDAQ Composite, at least early on before we had some selling. So the NASDAQ Composite has been very flat, very sideways lately, because this is where the funds have come from to pay for it. So all of the NASDAQ stocks that have been doing so well were sold to rotate into other asset classes. And today they started to rotate back into them again because the NASDAQ has been going sideways. But you can clearly see that because of all the sideways work here, this has built up a tremendous amount of energy. Remember, when markets go sideways like this, it's like winding up a spring. It's just coiling up a spring, getting tighter and tighter, and building up that energy. And this, for those that follow this type of theory, is just a huge cup with handle pattern that is already broken outside the neckline. This is the potential to the upside on this pattern. So watch for this. Now, it's not going to all come in the next month. That's basically years to get up to that level. But right now, a lot of potential on this index right now. And so you're going to see these periods where we pull into consolidation and work off this overbought status, if you will, and then break higher from that. So stair-stepping is the mode of this market until we see differently. So here at TheoTrade, we're doing a few things about this. We're looking for those breakout opportunities from the consolidation, taking those long, getting our fair share, getting in, getting out, not holding these for a long period of time. We're also looking for, as we get into these crazy moves upwards, we are looking for the down moves or sideways moves here, so we can either sell time against that or using something a little bit more volatility friendly, like a short call diagonal, to take advantage of that. So we're looking for these moves. There's a ton of opportunity out there right now. There's a lot of things that are moving. We have, in fact, more opportunity than we can really trade right now because there's so many quality opportunities. So just keep in mind, folks, right now the market is completely forward discounting all of this great potential news, and it will have a very difficult reaction, at least for a couple of days, the first time that some piece of news actually comes in that goes against that upward flow. Wait for it. It'll be worth the wait. That's it for today's report. Take care, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.